Welcome back to Recommended Daily Value. Today we're joined once again by Kathleen Stewart, and today we're going to dive into what we eat in a day. The paparazzi have been begging. They want to know. They're breaking into Kathleen's pantry, trying to figure out what is the secret sauce. So today we're going to break down, a day in the life of what we eat and the reasoning behind it.
Okay, so let's start with breakfast. Okay, so what I eat for breakfast, and I've been doing this for a while now, and I absolutely love it. And I pretty much eat the same exact thing every single day for breakfast, but it's a big bowl, basically 2 servings of oatmeal I mix in non-fat Greek yogurt, like at least basically 2 servings of non-fat Greek yogurt. And then right now I've been on a fig preserve, thing. Like before I was all about strawberry jam. It kind of just depends. Like I really like figs right now. It's probably because it's fall or about to be fall. But yeah, so I put like a tons of fig preserve in there, and then mix it all up. And I really like that. Some people would probably think that that sounds really disgusting, but I think it tastes really good to have it all mixed up like that. And my sons both really enjoy it mixed up like that too, so it works. But yeah, so I have that, and then I usually have with it a big bowl of air fried potatoes with like about an ounce to 2 ounces of ground beef, 90-10 ground beef in it, and that's pretty much my breakfast.
Okay. So what you usually get up around 8?
Yeah, usually get up around 8, and as soon as we get up, we do these things in Transform too, but like as soon as we get up, we go downstairs, go outside for a couple minutes. I open the back door to let some fresh air, some gas exchange happen. So, because obviously everything is off gassing, when everything is closed up. So just kind of opening the door, allowing for gas exchange to happen, I think is important. Like I definitely think, Florence Nightingale, which is everyone knows is like the quote unquote mother of nursing. Like I think she was on the right track, and if anything, I think the nursing profession has kind of like gone off the track that she was on, but she definitely looked at sunlight, fresh air, food, sleep, basically everything that we talk about with Transform as like kind of the foundations of health. And in the hospitals, she would, same thing, like would open all the windows, would have natural light, would have the patients, come outside, all of that. It's very unfortunate that hospitals have moved away from that and are using like unnatural lights and stuff. But anyways, back to my day. So like we get up in the morning, we go outside for, some days it's longer, other days it's like, okay, we don't have much time because we have to get going for karate and stuff like that, because my older son does karate right now. My younger son really wants to do karate, but he's just not at the age yet. But it is so cute because he'll turn 2 on the 28th of September, and they count in Japanese, and you hear him just like repeating them counting in Japanese and stuff like that. So, and then he like tries to do the positions and all of that. But anyway, so yeah, we go outside. And then the boys pretty much stay outside playing while I come back inside and make the oatmeal for the most part, and the ground beef. For the most part, the potatoes I've already batch cooked, so they're already like ready to go and stuff, just have to heat them up. And then we eat together, and then from there, like I said, either we're going to karate or we're going back outside or playing inside, reading books, like all that stuff. So yeah, that's basically my morning and breakfast.
Yeah. So oatmeal for carbs, a little bit of fat in there. The jam, the preserve for a lot more carbs. I'm surprised you added the ground beef with 2 servings of Greek yogurt. Makes me feel good because I eat like 3, and people think I'm crazy, but 2 at your size is like kind of proportional. Yeah. I'm surprised you add in the extra ground beef there. Is that just to get some added protein?
It's so obviously I'm getting a fair amount of protein with the Greek yogurt. I'm basically getting about 34 grams of protein right there with the Greek yogurt. And the reason for the Greek yogurt has to do with the calcium, the potassium, the magnesium, mostly. But the big one being calcium for sure. And then the ground beef, the big reason for the ground beef isn't necessarily for the protein, it's more for the micronutrients. So for the zinc, the iron, the copper, and the choline, so that's the big reason why I have, ground beef. And yes, are all of those divalent cations competing? So like it's all the calcium in the Greek yogurt potentially, impacting absorption of the copper and the iron and stuff in the ground beef. Yes, but also at the end of the day, like everything is digesting at different rates and stuff. So, um, in my opinion, like things wash out, and I'm not like, if I were anemic and I was like, okay, I really need to get certain things up and stuff, then I would definitely separate them a little bit more. But because I don't have those issues, and because at the end of the day, like I just have to get the food in, and I don't have like all day to eat, and I also don't feel good if I'm like just like eating all day. Like I definitely feel way better if I have like defined meals. That's the reason why I eat them together. So
Okay. And is the reasoning behind the ground beef to get some micronutrients in at that meal rather than like more throughout the day,
so
or do you
so
just
I
want to
ba-
get it in?
yeah, so I basically have the same exact thing at lunchtime as well. So I basically eat the same thing. So and order the reason for that is then to get the same exact micronutrient profile basically at lunchtime as well. And I do think that it is important to spread, micro, especially again if you're deficient in something or if you have like subclinical deficiency in something. Like I do think the more the transporters, etc., are seeing those micronutrients, the better. And so I would, um, like if you were deficient in, B12, iron, zinc, copper, like, again, back to like the anemia, big ones, I would try, instead of having like a pound of ground beef at one meal, and yes, that pound is going to take time to digest. And so it's not like it's just coming in during like an hour or something. The transporters are going to see it for a fair amount of the day or even the night, depending on how close to sleep you're eating. But I do think, it still can be very helpful to, instead of having a pound at a time, break it up into like 4 ounces, 4 ounces, 4 ounces, 4 ounces, like something like that, just so you get a little bit more you know uh, break between digestion, and to allow the transporters to be saturated every single time, basically. So you're basically maximizing the amount that you're consuming. So this is again also why I'm a big fan of, if you are going to supplementing, going like a drop dosing route where you basically take small amounts throughout the day, versus just taking like 400 milligrams at one time and being like, oh, I just absorbed 400 milligrams. Is like, no, you probably did not just absorb 400 milligrams. Your microbiome just probably just dealt with like the vast majority of that. So yeah.
Okay. So I start my breakfast off. I usually batch cook a bunch of the sourdough Greek yogurt pancakes, and that has been my way of getting more protein at breakfast. I actually don't. I eat everything on repeat, but I actually don't like eating Greek yogurt twice a day. But eating it in the pancakes is a much more enjoyable way. And I was never a huge pancake guy, but this has been a really fun way to like. I'd have literally like basically a bucket of pancakes sitting in the fridge, and I'll just microwave those, and then if I'm actually going like lower fat for the day, like I'm gonna go out to dinner, I'll just eat those pancakes because I have figured out how to get them with like zero fat, which has been awesome. A lot of protein and a great way to eat, and throw in some maple syrup on there. And then I'll usually eat an egg or two because my fat has been lower on a piece of sourdough. Or I was at one point making sourdough bagels, which was really fun. So I could eat a bacon, egg, and cheese, or even just like a egg and cheese, not even an egg sandwich every day for the rest of my life. I think that's a New Jersey thing. So the pancakes in combination with the egg and bagel just kind of slap for me. I'll throw a little bit of hot sauce and ketchup. Sometimes if I'm feeling myself, been kind of lazy lately, I'll throw some fruit, tomatoes, spinach, peppers, all the onions, all of those things if I'm feeling myself. But usually it's just kind of like rinse, wash, repeat. I want to spend 15 minutes making breakfast and then get it in my tummy, and then I will try and go for a walk after. I think I need to bring back the walk and then breakfast,
Yeah.
because once I sit down for breakfast, I end up like, all right, let's just go to work.
Yeah. Yeah. When we're outside in the morning, I that's something I do is I walk in our backyard. I mean, we have a California backyard. It's slightly bigger than most California backyards, but still a California backyard. But I have no problem with like making figure eights and stuff like that, or just like walking a rectangle around our like patio area and stuff. And also like the boys running around and stuff. So I'll like chase them every so often, so lots of walking and then like start stop kind of running around. So
And I
yeah,
always open my door first thing to
yeah.
get some natural sunlight in and go and stare at the wall for a second, or the outdoors, and then go and cook.
Yeah, I definitely hear you though about getting steps in first thing in the morning. I think that is so crucially important and just like so helpful for people. And then also like I also find walking a little bit after meals to be helpful for my digestion and stuff too. So, I don't have like I must hit 10 minutes or something. It's just like, okay, I'm just going to move at least a little bit of time afterwards. And then I'm like constantly just like moving throughout the day and stuff too. Like even when we go to karate, like, most of the time Henry and I are, playing with the ball or just like walking around outside and stuff. So, yeah, constantly moving.
Yeah. It's also a very peaceful way to start your day. Nice to reflect on what I want to accomplish today, take in the morning. I'm trying to practice more gratitude, and I find the morning in the sun, no distractions going on, like the easiest way. Like, what a great day to be alive.
Yeah, yeah.
I also get to, like, very lucky. I get to walk on like a natural river. It is a
Yeah.
little stinky sometimes, but usually for the most part, it's gorgeous.
It smells like sulfur.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not interesting. Yeah, so same. Even in the wintertime when it's like, I mean, okay, California winter, well, at least where I live in California, winters are not like excessively cold, except for sometimes because of the humidity. You get like that bone chilling coldness where like in
Mhm.
Colorado, I mean, this, like it'd be freezing, but because it's so dry, it's like, okay, I'm cold, but like I can handle this. Where like even in California, even if it's like not freezing, just because of how the humidity and the water coming off of the San Francisco Bay and stuff like that, like it can be quite like bone chilling cold. And so that's not a lot of fun. But even in the wintertime, we still will bundle up and go outside. And even if I just like go and like, have the sun like bathe my face basically for at least like a minute or two in the morning, it's kind of like, okay, we can start the day now. Um,
Yeah.
and then even on like rainy days and stuff, we'll still go outside because even if there's cloud coverage, you're still getting, a lot of benefit from being outside in the sunlight and stuff. So, yeah, I agree. It's like a great way to start your day every single day if possible.
Yeah. And then I'll usually, once I get back from my walk, or if I don't go for a walk, I'll start with like do a cup of coffee. So cup of coffee, half cup milk, and some maple syrup or honey, whatever I'm feeling. Sweeten that up. A few hours later, around noon to 1, I'd say, depending on like when I work out and stuff, I'll have non-fat Greek yogurt, like three servings of recent, and then throw in something to sweeten it and some cereal, which the cereal has been huge for keeping me satiated because I used to get ravenous like an hour after eating the non-fat Greek yogurt. But having some cereal, if you are looking for recommendations, either I go for like a Raisin Bran, organic Raisin Bran, or the Kathleen's kids would probably love this if she would approve the Enviro Kids. They're all
Environment.
children's cereal. The Choco Chimps is awesome. The Gorilla
Okay.
Munch is like the most famous one. I don't. I think that one's kind of mid, honestly. But Rhino Rolls, oh yeah, uh, and Choco Chimps, which is chocolate, which I cannot get enough of, has been awesome. And that's also been something like if I ever go out for dinner recently or go out for lunch, like a few days ago, we did 14er and we stopped for lunch. I just
Yeah.
eat the yogurt for dessert slash dinner, and that's a really nice way because it's like, okay, I had some more fat, so I can't eat dessert tonight. But like it's good enough where it's like this is actually kind of like a dessert and it's really sweet and I get my protein and no fat. So it's a nice way to end the day and it doesn't feel like I'm like punishing myself.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't have coffee because I do not metabolize coffee very well. So, talk about like adrenaline storm and stuff. And then I'm just like up all night long. So, if I do have any kind of like warm drink, especially in the late fall, winter, early springtime, Mark, he's amazing. He always like will make me some chamomile tea and stuff, or like some herbal tea. And so I'll have some of that in the morning with honey usually. I like tea really sweet, though. Most people, if they were to drink the tea that I drink, they would be like, "Oh my goodness, this is so sweet." Um,
My mom calls me Buddy the Elf with how I make my
yeah,
coffee.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah. Um, but always honey for me. I mean, I don't know. I've gone through phases where like I like sugar in my tea, but I do think that honey in the tea, I don't know, I just like the taste a little bit more. So yes, I'll
I
have
agree.
tea. And then, like I said, pretty much second meal is pretty much a carbon copy of the first meal. Maybe instead of like two servings of the Greek yogurt, I'll just have like one serving, so about 17 grams of protein. But again, same. First of all, I just really like Greek yogurt mixed with oatmeal mixed with fruit preserves. Like I really, really enjoy eating that. And so, and then obviously the benefits of hitting micronutrients, especially for me, like I spent so much of my young life, childhood, etc., like not getting much dairy and not getting a lot of calcium at all. Like if anything, I've talked about this before, like I think my brother's, because I have a twin brother, I think his health is so much more, or like was so much more robust in our like teenage 20, early 20s, etc., because he grew up like drinking milk and stuff. And I grew up thinking I was like lactose intolerant and like couldn't have milk and stuff. And so that's the reason why I didn't. I also just, I've never really enjoyed milk, to be honest. Like I don't do well with whey. And so I think that's part of the reason why. But I really like yogurt, especially if it's mixed with something. I don't like Greek yogurt by itself though. And I do not like full fat Greek yogurt. Like one time my mom, recently she got, one of the like Trader Joe's Greek yogurt cups, and I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
gonna try this, not realizing that it said like whole milk on it. And I like started eating it. I was like, oh, I just don't, that like creaminess stuff, I just don't like it. I know a lot of people love it and they're probably thinking like, Kathleen, you're insane right now, but I just do not like it at all.
Yeah. Well,
So
it pisses me off whenever someone does that accidentally. It's always with good intentions because I'm like,
yeah.
the reason I'm eating Greek yogurt is to get protein, and then you just like threw all the protein away, and now it's just like I'm eating basically ice cream, but without the
Yeah.
benefit of ice cream.
Yeah.
Or like it's not as good as ice cream. I will say that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then let's see here. And then my third meal of the day, that's usually more, I mean, it depends. Like sometimes it's more potatoes, sometimes it's rice, sometimes it's sweet potatoes, sometimes it's plantains. Kath from Transform really got me back on plantains again. Um, Sometimes it's a lot just more fruit. So for like carbs and stuff. And then some, I usually don't have as much meat during that meal, so as much like protein during that meal because I've already like, I'm 110 pounds. Like I don't technically need a lot of protein because of that, but I do feel better if I get a certain amount of animal protein per day. So that's why I still, have the Greek yogurt and the beef and stuff in the morning, and then I'll get to dinner for that as well. But yeah, so that like third meal, I don't really have a ton of protein. With that, I also will have like toast with some butter on it. But when I say some butter, like I'm the person, like I don't like excess fat, and so I'm like scraping the butter off of it and like just putting like a thin layer of butter on the toast. Um, some people, they obviously put like mounds of and like gobs of butter on their toast, but I don't like that. Yeah, so that's basically my third meal. So like I said, basically a bunch of carbs with a little bit of fat, and then the kind of residual nitrogen sources that are in the carbohydrates. So
Yeah. So I will typically have my second cup and last cup of coffee usually around lunch or like an hour before lunch, depending on the day. I haven't actually, a lot of times I haven't been drinking a second cup just because I've been doing things. Then if I drink it afternoon, I'm toast. Won't be able to sleep that night. So been having 1 to 2, again, sweeten that. Have lunch, and then I also forgot to mention I have a big glass of orange juice in the morning. So it's another like 2 cups of orange juice. So a lot of carbs there, and like a big piece of sourdough, which I did mention. But I think, let's see, I wonder, my breakfast typically is probably like 200 grams of carbs. 200 grams of carbs typically, about 10 grams of fat, maybe a little bit more when I have eggs. And then lunch is probably around the same thing. So like actually lunch is a bit smaller for me. So it's like 100 grams of carbs typically. And then like 60 grams of protein, maybe 150 grams of carbs depending on the day. Been having some pretzels too. Pretzels have been really good snack for me. I've been enjoying. And then sometimes depending on the day, I'll have what I call like a refuel or like a snack. So it'll be like, that's my name for it in Chronometer, refuel. But it'll be just a ton of carbs. So
yeah,
like fruit, mangoes, like a bowl, basically a fruit bowl. I was having grapes. I've gotten kind of lazy with buying fruit, and then I've been traveling a bit more, like hanging out, and I hate when raspberries and things go bad.
yeah,
So those are kind of tough, but like, I've been frozen mangoes are good. I love oranges. For some reason, I haven't had oranges at the grocery store, which has really pissed me off because I love oranges. I'll do an apple once a day, usually around then too. So a big bowl of carbs, even though it's a huge bowl, it ends up probably being like 100 grams, if that, of carbs. And then I'll end the day with like some form of meat. So whether it's ground beef, steak, burger, meatballs, chicken breast, shrimp, whitefish, whatever that is. and then a carbs that could be usually rice, pasta, or potatoes. Sometimes sourdough, like on a sandwich or something. Make some ciabatta or just regular bread, and that's probably another like 30 to 40 grams of protein typically. And actually, that's probably like 60. Yeah, I probably average like 60 grams of protein in that meal. I need a bit more protein than Kathleen. Kathleen, I needed like 65 or 165. And that's usually where a little bit more of a fatty meal just because of the protein requirements. I'll usually add some ghee or whatever if I need to cook potatoes. And then I try to keep that pretty lean. I used to eat a lot more red meat like meat at that meal, but I've been doing like 6 ounces of ground beef because I don't need a ton. And that saves me a lot more fat, so I can have a nice sized chipwich or ice cream sundae right there afterwards. I'll do an ice cream sundae with serving of ice cream, serving of chocolate syrup, and a serving of chocolate chips, and that is my nightcap. Sometimes I'll have like a little kiwi or something to end the night, but that's really the whole day. And that's I'll always have a bunch of vegetables there too, which have been really a recent innovation for me because I used to not eat any vegetables, but those are great. I actually really like how they taste now. I always steam them or boil them, so there's no fat. And again, I'd rather have the fat for the ice cream than from the butter and the vegetables. To each their own there. But that caps me off at around 3,800 calories is what I'm currently kind of like trying to build at. Might have to adjust that a little bit here in the next couple of weeks, but 65 grams of fat is my goal, 650 grams of carbs, and like 162 grams of protein. I've been going over the grams of protein by a bit almost every day, but I'm not too concerned about that just because I'm kind of experimenting with it. And then I also have every day at the gym 1 to 2 cups of lemonade, or whenever I work out. So that's like another like 100 grams of carbs or something.
Yeah, so when I lift, kind of depends on the day. Most of the time, it's in the afternoon, but sometimes it's in the late morning. It kind of just depends. But when I lift, I'll usually have some. Well, I've been having fruit punch with organic fruit punch with like a small scoop of Greek yogurt in it. But before that, it was like all about lemonade for a while. First, it was like lemonade, then strawberry lemonade. Now we're on fruit punch. So we'll see what the next iteration goes to. Maybe back to lemonade again, honestly, because we're getting closer to like all the lemons being ready and stuff. So. But yeah, I'll have that with a sprinkle of salt in it, and I find that really, really helpful for my lifts. Like when I started implementing that, like gym sessions just got way better. And it's not even like I'm spending, like most of my lifts are between 45 minutes and an hour. So it's not even like I spend, 2 hours in the gym where it's like, oh, you need intra-workout. I just like feel way better, especially the later half of my lifts. Just go, like I said, better that way. And then so for dinner, so I have found for me that I do best if I have most of my vegetables at dinner time versus like splitting them up throughout the day. I don't know what it is, but like not from like, it's not that my digestive system can't handle it. If anything, my digestive system is fine. I just like, I don't know, I just feel better doing it that way. So, and we always focus on like what objectively works for you and stuff. And so, and obviously I'm getting like potatoes and stuff throughout the day. So, obviously not a vegetable per se, but like kind of similar to a vegetable. And then obviously the fruit and stuff too. But yeah, so for dinner time, it's usually kind of some kind of salad. I've been on a huge zucchini kick. And so I've been kind of like small cubing zucchini, both green and yellow, and then using like a bunch of different spices and either putting it in the air fryer with potatoes or putting it in the oven after like the protein that I'm eating has cooked and stuff like that. And so yeah, I've been all about the zucchini recently. And so yeah, so basically a salad, some kind of vegetable. Every so often, like we'll have Brussels sprouts. Huge fan of broccoli. My Harrison, my oldest son, he loves broccoli, and so we make broccoli all the time and stuff. And then some protein, like you said, whether it's shrimp or a white fish or chicken. I make like spicy sweet chicken. So I basically like dump a bunch of like spicy or like hot spices on the chicken, and then at the very end put a little bit of like brown sugar and honey and like a dash of like orange juice or like tangerine juice in it. We really like that. And then either potatoes or rice. Those are like the big sometimes we'll have spaghetti and stuff. I with like sausage. I don't do the best with spaghetti and sausage. So we don't have it that much. Sometimes we'll have pizza. If we have pizza, it's always, very light cheese and very light sauce. And so would you consider that a pizza? I don't know. Italians are like, what do you mean? Like there's this place that we go to when we go to San Diego, and they're like legit Italians that work there. And when you tell them I want like very light cheese, they're like, I can't make that for you. they're like, you're desecrating my pizza. Yeah, I cannot make that.
That's not pizza.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah. I've always been like that though. I don't like a lot of sauce or cheese on my pizza. So it's more like just like bread, or like I've always just like breadsticks, to be honest, and then like with stuff on top of it. Um yeah, so that's pretty much dinner. And then for dessert, or like quote unquote dessert, like before going to bed, I usually have like a slice or two of toast with some butter on it. But recently my mom's been making a lot of muffins, and so I've been eating one or two banana muffins or blueberry muffins, and so I get some fat and stuff from them. um and yeah, I'm not a huge, I mean, every so often, like I'll have, ice cream and stuff. I'm really just not a huge ice cream. Like we've talked about these before. I've never really been a huge ice cream fan. Like I like things like bagels and muffins and galettes and stuff like that. I don't like cake. I don't like cupcakes, even though I like muffins. I really don't like cupcakes. So yeah, so that's I'll usually have something, one of those things that I enjoy shortly before going to sleep. I find that I do really well if I eat something before going to sleep, especially on leg day. Like if I just need those extra calories before going to sleep.
Yeah.
Other days it's not as much of a thing, but I eat so much anyways that it's like it's no problem. So yeah.
Do you try to? I know I try. Like last night, I got home way too late, which is kind of knowing I should have thought it through. But I have like the Muay Thai classes at 5:30 and then 6:30, so that means
Yeah.
I get home at like 7, and then
Yeah.
like by the time I'm eating, it's like or no, I'm getting home at 6:30 to 7:30. I'm getting home closer to 8. Heat, so like I'm eating around 8 p.m. and I usually can't fall asleep for like an hour or two after I like eat a big meal. So I
Yeah.
really always try to eat. I'd say like if I want at least 2 hours, I'll finish my last big meal before I go to bed.
Yeah. I definitely try to be done with like dinner you know, by 8, if not earlier. And then I usually, like I said, have that, piece of toast or muffin or whatever, like maybe about 30 minutes or so before going to sleep. And then, we go upstairs and brush teeth and, get ready. Basically, like after I brush my teeth, I try not to eat anything after that. When I'm pregnant, like I definitely eat in the middle of the night, for sure. And when I'm like I'm still breastfeeding, but like when I'm newly breastfeeding, and it's like more about, because like at this point it's not really about nutrition anymore. It's just, yeah, more the like psycho-emotional stuff. I mean, still about nutrition, like especially from the immune side of things, and like the plasmalogen side of things and stuff. But he's about to be 2, so it's different than having like a newborn and like complete nutrition, versus like
Yeah.
about to be 2 and actually like eating food and stuff. But when I'm like more at the beginning of I would say like the first year of breastfeeding, I definitely eat at night too. Whenever whenever my children would wake up to breastfeed and stuff, I would eat something then. But for the most part, I don't. When I was like really coming out of the LEA, I definitely had to eat in the middle of the night to go back to sleep. And I found like personally that I tried the honey, I tried the casein, I tried the orange juice, like none of that ever worked. The only thing that, or the big thing that really helps me is toast and butter, like a little toast with a little bit of butter on it. So there's something about starches and like putting me in the parasympathetic state that I can go back to sleep and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I do really well with starches too. Yeah, I think I got to get back more on the potato grind in the morning because I just love it. Because it's a great way. So many nutrients in there too, and I like having. Well, I already have a ton of starches in that meal, but yeah, I just need to get my calories up higher again. But
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
slowly but surely chip away. Because right now I'm running out of food. I miss my 4,000 calorie days. He's um But yeah, is there anything else? How many calories and like what are your macros in general
Um, okay,
at this
so
point?
I haven't actually tracked a day in a couple months now, but
Yeah.
I pretty much eat the same thing every single day, and when I do track, my calories were at just about 3,000 because I'm trying to be in a very slow surplus, like a very slow bulk, small bulk, which has been really helping, like body composition wise. Like I'm definitely seeing a lot of recomp, but I could definitely eat more if I wanted to like purposely put on more. Like if I wanted to go, like I am putting on muscle and am losing fat at a good rate, that I'm happy with it. But if I wanted to go more quickly and probably put on muscle maybe a little bit more quickly, which I know there's a big argument going around right now and stuff about how you can just basically main gain, or like do basically a very small surplus in order to maximally put on muscle. But like at the end of the day, especially for men, like if you want to go from 155 pounds to 185 pounds, like you have to eat, right? Like there's now, I definitely think you can do that in a positive way, not just like a dirty bulk way where you're basically just putting on like all fat mass. But yeah, but you can't, I don't think that especially with where most people think their maintenance calories are at. Now, if you had done the work that we have done and what we do in Transform of like getting your maintenance calories up as high as possible and then, just basically main gains, like that's what I feel like I'm doing right now. But I had to do that first. And I don't think
Mhm.
like most people haven't done that. And so if anything, they're like lean bulk is getting them to that point. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so anyways, back to it. So yeah, about 3,000 calories. My protein is about, because again, I just eat so much. It's about like 130, 140, which again, I don't necessarily need, but because I get so many like nitrogen protein sources from, potatoes and bread and stuff like that, like I do find that I feel better if I maintain some amount of animal protein. And, people always ask me, well, like, how do you quantify that? And I think the best thing to potentially look at is like the leucine threshold, maybe. And like, maybe, do you necessarily need to get completely into that leucine threshold per meal because of how many like because of how much protein you're getting? Maybe not. Like, maybe you do like right below the low end of it for your weight
Yeah.
per meal. But that's probably the best way to quantify it. And then, hold on. And then fat, for the most part is like I eat pretty low fat, like compared to how many calories I'm eating. I eat like maybe 50 grams of fat a day, which is, let's see here, that is, hold on, let's do some math really fast.
450 calories, so it's like one
Yeah,
sixth. So like, what is that?
it's
17.5%.
15% of my calories. Yeah. So there are some days where I eat a little bit more, but like I usually don't ever really hit like 20% of my calories from fat just because I just eat so much food, so many carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And then everything else is carbohydrates. So let's see here. Let's see what that is. Hold on.
Yes. So my percentages end up being, I'm probably eating closer to 20% protein, like 65% carbs, 70% carbs, and then 15% fat as well.
15% fat. And then if I say, I'll just say, I don't know, 140 for protein. Well, that would be 19% for protein.
Okay.
Yeah, I eat a lot of carbs. Let's see how many actual grams of carbs. Oh my goodness, this calculate. Well, you can keep talking while I'm doing the math.
But yeah,
Hold
you
on.
did just describe like my entire last 10 years where it's just like dirty bulked accidentally. And then needed like cut and then dirty bulked and then cut and just gained it all way too fast rather than just taking the slow methodical approach of trying to slowly gain muscle, which is really way harder. Even right now where I'm doing like trying to do it, I'm like questioning like, am I gaining too fast? Part of that is like haven't been as consistent as I would like as far as nutrition, and I'm moving, so I'm going out a little bit more, like having some last hurrahs with some friends. But yeah, it's kind of, it's tough doing like the slow bulk when it was like, and also having gotten to as lean as I did this year, it's also like a little bit tough to like kiss that away, like say
Yeah.
goodbye to being that shredded. Like it was really nice, but at least at this point, like last time when I was at this weight, I felt like I was in the purgatory where it's like
Yeah.
I don't look shredded and I don't look ripped and or big, and now I'm like, oh, I actually like look pretty solid. I would obviously love to be a lot bigger, so that has been nice, but it is tough to have that balanced mindset of like, okay, I'm gonna slowly gain weight rather than let me just stuff the whole tub of Haagen-Dazs into my
Yeah.
mouth every night and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so my grams of carbs are about 498, about 500, we'll just say, and then that's 66% of my calories from carbs.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah. So I'm at, yeah, I said mine, but I'm at like for numbers, 650 grams of carbs, 65 grams of fat, and 160 plus grams of protein.
yeah, yeah,
But to put that in perspective, Kathleen is literally a foot shorter than me and 75 pounds lighter. So, her proportionally, she makes me look like nothing,
yeah.
which is kind of funny. But I'm surprised you don't do any eggs. Do you not do well with eggs?
I So sometimes I'll go through phases where I like an egg sandwich or like an egg salad sandwich. Like Mark, he makes a really good egg salad sandwich. There was this place called Alexis Baking Company in Napa that we used to love to go to. They unfortunately closed down basically because of COVID, essentially. And they had like a great egg salad sandwich that I would get like on the weekends, usually like every Sunday or something like that. And he does his egg salad sandwich like pretty much rivals that, and so I'm like grateful and lucky, lucky there. But I'm just not really an egg person. Like I've never been an egg. Like I remember my parents used to make scrambled eggs, pretty much every Sunday, and I would like douse it in ketchup and like mush it all together. And yeah, I've had like eggs cooked every way from like some of the best chefs in the country, and I'm just not an egg person. So
Mm, I
yeah,
like eggs.
yeah,
Yeah. Surprised. So you just do plain bagels or what?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I eat plain
I
bagels too. I know we're both weirdos in that way. I used to not like butter or cream cheese
Yeah,
or eggs. I was super picky
yeah,
growing up. So
yeah,
everyone else was like, "What do you want in your bagel?" I was like, "Just give me the bagel," and it would be a
yeah,
plain bagel. I wouldn't eat everything or egg everything.
yeah.
Now I've diversified a bit, but yeah, I mean
People,
that's what you tell. Go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
Well, that's what I tell like how I'm the best person, and people like kind of make fun of me for this, but I'm the best person to judge a bagel place, pizza place a little bit, like pizza places or ice cream, because I get
Yeah,
the same thing everywhere. It's always chocolate ice cream. It's always like a plain bagel, like bacon, egg, and cheese. Like I can tell you who has the best bagel, who has the best ice cream, because I have the best standard. You guys are all with your mint chocolate chip nonsense, and so, give me chocolate or give me death. And if it's not
yeah,
good chocolate, it's not a good ice cream place. I'll die on that hill.
yeah, yeah. I like people will say, "Do you want us to slice it and like toast it?" I'm like, "No, I just want the blueberry bagel." Like I'm just going to eat the blueberry bagel like as is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like blueberry bagels. That's one. Sometimes I like like I don't know, cinnamon sugar bagels and stuff like that. Usually I don't eat just like straight up plain bagels. It's usually like a blueberry bagel. But yeah, I don't put anything. I don't toast it. I don't really cut it. I literally just eat it.
Yeah.
Like you said, I do not like cream cheese. I've never liked cream cheese, especially on a bagel. And even like with butter and stuff, no. I will say when I was younger and I used to eat a lot of peanut butter, I would put peanut butter and like sliced bananas on the bagel, and I liked that. But I don't even do that anymore. So
I don't like bananas. Like
no,
I'll put them in a smoothie, but the texture of bananas freaks me out. I
really.
don't know why. Yeah.
Even so, we talked about this before, but I find that people tend to like the two sides of the banana. So either when they're like not like green, but like not completely ripe, and then the other people that are like, oh, I really like it ripe and stuff. And I find that if people they like it more on the kind of greener side, they tend to like and do slightly maybe a little bit better with starch. And then the people that are like, no, I really like it like fully ripe. Not like black, but like, small, some spots and stuff. They tend to do a little bit better with sugar, but I am definitely more on I like mine barely ripe side. So yeah.
Yeah. The whole texture of any of it freaks me out. But
What,
I
ab-
just
what,
like to
ab-
put it in smoothies.
what about
But
plantains?
I've actually never had plantains.
Okay, you have to
So
get on
I'll
that.
have to, yeah, I do have to get on some plantains. They're just not as accessible around here, but maybe I just have to look a little bit harder. But
Yeah.
I also don't like sweet potatoes. So I think sweet potatoes are so mid.
What about so I'm not a huge fan of like the orange sweet potato, but I really like Japanese sweet potatoes. Have you ever had a Japanese sweet
I have
potato?
not. So I
No,
would
okay.
try those. I
Yeah.
just think the orange sweet. I don't like the sweetness of the orange sweet potato. I like the
Okay.
savory of the regular one.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
what
not that
Mark
I
says
like.
too.
Yeah, it's not that I dislike the sweet potatoes. I would just never opt for them over regular potatoes.
Yeah, it's like there's a disconnect in the brain of like, this is a potato, this should be more like savory. Why is this sweet? Like, yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
understand. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
But
mostly eat the Japanese sweet potatoes. Sometimes there's like purple sweet potatoes, and so I'll have the purple sweet potatoes. They're a little bit more, I don't know, like chalky in a way, for lack of a better. So sometimes I'm not
not
a
in a good
huge,
way.
yeah, sometimes I'm not a huge fan of the purple ones. But I think the yellow ones, the yellow Japanese ones are really, really good. Or the white Japanese ones are really good. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Anything else we want to cover here?
Um, I think that's it. People always ask like, where do micronutrients come in? So for the most part, like I cover pretty much all the micros with what I eat every single day. Vitamin E is always slightly lower, but I do get a fair amount of it with things like the broccoli and stuff like that. Um, I definitely say I get more vitamin E from food than most people get from food because they're not consuming broccoli or they're not having like cranberry juice or anything like that. I also don't feel like I need as much vitamin E because I don't consume a lot of fat in general, and so that now obviously we talked about this and like the endogenous stores are for sure an issue and stuff, but I have had serum vitamin E run before, and it was even with the amount that I eat without supplementing, like it was in the high end, like high normal. So I feel pretty good with that. Um, in terms of all the other micros, for the most part, I hit them, with the food combinations with no issue. And yeah, I really don't supplement really anything. I mean, I do take the lifeblood from Heart and Soil just because, like, with the lipedema, like, I do bruise easily, and I do tend towards low normal platelets. And so I find that that really helps me. And it's like miraculous how much it helps me. It's like, this is crazy. And it also sometimes helps too, like, if I'm feeling a little bit like fatigued and it's more from like a not like from like a lack of sleep fatigue. It's more of like a red blood cell fatigued. I find that it helps me too there. So yeah, that's the supplement that I take. I know fairly routinely, but not every single day. And I just take like one, like maybe a handful of times a week. Pantethine, I still take, but like maybe once or twice a month, like very rarely. If I've been like incredibly stressed and and or sick or something like that, I will use sprinkles of Cortex first thing in the morning for a little bit of time. But other than that, I don't take it daily. Um, Sometimes I use topical vitamin D K2 from Thorne, but yeah, that's pretty much all of the supplements that I take.
Yeah.
And everything else I just get from food. So
Do you ever do creatine?
yeah, I have tried, I've tried creatine HCl, I tried creatine monohydrate. I don't get anything from, okay, I don't get anything from it when it comes to like lifting reasons. Now, I have used it though I knew I was going to have serotonin syndrome, and I have used it to save myself from getting serotonin syndrome. And so people that have serotonin syndrome, like you need to go to the hospital. So don't like take what I'm saying, I'm about to say is like medical advice or anything. But I knew it was coming on because I took something and I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I know this is what's about to happen. And I just started taking sprinkles underneath my tongue, like every 5 minutes, every minute, basically, until it was enough to like get it to calm back down and stop and stuff. So yeah, so I use creatine basically as a lifesaver, not necessarily, I don't really find any benefit from it, in terms of lifting and stuff. So yeah, I don't use pre-workouts. I never found, I I definitely tried like all the crazy ones, like back when I used to Olympic lift and stuff, and they would just always make me like, like I feel like I'm on coffee basically.
That's good.
Yeah, it's like, oh my goodness.
I'm gonna whenever we meet at some point, I'm gonna sneak you some pre-workout and see you get really amped up.
Oh no, no.
Kathleen
I
just
don't.
like starts putting up all of my weights. She's like, you bitch.
Well, but it's not like a clean. It's not like a good feeling. It's like oh my goodness. like I don't. It's really hard to explain. Like I guess people that have felt
Like
this way
cracked out.
understand what I'm saying. Yeah, like I mean, obviously I've never had tried crack or anything, but like it's like it's
Yeah.
such a weird, and it's like not a clean feeling either. It's like so like even with lifting, like I almost feel like too spun up to lift even like I'm like too all over the place to even like focus on like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but to me like lifting is also like very meditative in a way, so maybe that's why like um I don't try to like amp myself up to do lifts and stuff because I want to be able to make the conditions such that I can repeat them most of the time. So because like I do think that that is an aspect of progressive overload, right? Like if that's why, even with the ladies in the build group, I'm having them do a training 3 rep max this week versus like I don't want you to completely amp yourself up and like, a competition mode 3 rep max and stuff like that. Like I want this to be something that you could feasibly hit most of the time, if you had to and stuff. So, and that's how I approach lifting too. Like I want the conditions to be mostly similar, the same, so that I can keep progressing from there versus like every single time I have to, I have to listen to this song. I have to amp myself. There are so many times when I lift, I don't listen to any music. The only reason why when I go to a regular gym that I like listen to music or like have headphones on is because I just don't want people to bother me. I don't want to like talk to you when I'm lifting. But usually when I'm at home, most of the time I don't listen to music. Sometimes I do. It kind of just depends on the day. But like I want that. I don't want to have to.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've been not listening to music a lot too, just because my hotel or my apartment gym is often empty. I kind of just
yeah.
like the silence. But I've also listened to crazy things. I've listened to like Louis Capaldi. I listen to like really sad music at times when I'm lifting, and just because like I'm not lifting like using the music to lift a lot of the times. It's just like get me through this, or it's whatever I'm listening to.
Yeah.
Occasionally on leg day, I do typically put on some angrier stuff, but sometimes I'm just like, yeah, I don't need to. Sometimes I'm like, I'm exhausted. I need to get amped up and just push through. I will say the best case for music in general, and I find this with running as well, is when you just want to get through it,
Yeah.
which isn't
Yeah.
necessarily a good thing, but sometimes you just need to,
Need to. Yeah.
it's not about killing it. It's just like, let me get through this lift.
Yeah, yeah. If anything, I'll use music to block things out, like provide like a screen between what I'm doing and the external world. And then also I like it for like the cadence,
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
if especially like running or doing any type of cardio. Like I like it that way for like the tempo. And then even for lifting too, like there's some songs where it's like, okay, this is a good tempo for what I'm about the movement I'm about to do to make sure that like my breath syncs up with it. And so again, that I'm like kind of standardizing the lift and stuff. So as much as
Well,
possible.
I don't know about you, but I know for me personally, like after the first rep, I zone out the music no matter what.
Yeah,
'Cause,
exactly. Yeah.
like I think that's like it's really just a tool to get you into the first set or into the
Yeah.
first rep, and then after that, you're like, okay, I'm already here.
That's why I so on my like Substack story where I talked about how I associate like music with books and stuff, people ask me like how can you read and listen to music at the same time, especially because like it's not even like I'm just listening to classical music. Like the music I listen to when I read sometimes actually has words to it and a beat, and it's it's not just like classical or jazz or something. And it's the exact same thing. Like it just you block it out eventually. It's just kind of like going on in the background. Again, I look at it almost as like separating you from the external world so you can focus on, so I can focus on like what I'm doing and stuff. So that's how I use it and how I experience it versus I'm like having things compete at the same time. So
Mm. I like it to be silent when I read. I really like a nice quiet. I can definitely read depending on what I'm reading in a more noisy environment. But I remember I was trying to read like Dostoevsky at the beach with a bunch of people, and I was
yeah.
reading like one page like 15 times in a row before I got to the next text, and that's a tough one.
Yeah. I especially which one of his books were you reading?
I think I was reading. I may have been Crime and Punishment at the time. I've read
Okay.
both Crime and Punishment and Brothers Karamazov and the Underground, Notes from the Underground.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of The Double. If you haven't read The Double by him,
The
it's one
Double.
of his,
Okay.
yeah, it's one of his shorter ones, but that one, like all of them are incredibly impactful, of course, but like that one was, I found like very impactful to me. So,
Yeah. I didn't
yeah.
like Notes from the Underground, but I think that's also because I didn't understand it. as much as I needed to. I think all of his books are like, you need to go back and reread them.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I just went back and reread Homer. I read Homer originally during grad school, the very beginning of grad school, like right before COVID, or maybe like 3 years before COVID happened. And then I just went back and reread the Iliad and the Odyssey, and you definitely take way more away like the second time and stuff. And I also really appreciate like the hardcore literature book club, because like I think Ben does like a really, really good job discussing the books and stuff. So that's always very helpful too. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I didn't pick up on that, or I didn't recognize that. But that's also because like that's what he does. Like he's all about literature and stuff, where it's like obviously I pick up those things when it comes to like science and physics and stuff. So
I got to get on that book club.
yeah,
I need to put down my Game of Thrones, pick up some more classic literature.
we're about to read Rebecca, Daphne du Maurier's, I think 1938 book, Rebecca. It's like a gothic, I'm pretty sure is the genre. So I'm excited. I'm haven't really read any books really in that genre, so I'm excited to see like, I did read, I think Song of Solomon is technically like Southern Gothic, and I did read that with the book club, and that was really good too. But yeah, it's been like, I think so fruitful to read literature and like read the classics and stuff, because
And with other people.
Yeah, definitely. Because obviously I read a lot in high school and college and stuff. But it's because I had to,
Yeah.
and I was also like so stuck on, well, I'm going to be a scientist. Back then I was going to be an aeronautical engineer versus a physicist, but still I was going to be a scientist, and or an engineer, I guess. And so I read a lot of like science things, and like nonfiction. I read a lot of history and stuff, but
Yeah.
never really like a lot of literature, just to read literature. And so it's been really nice to kind of have that side and like open my brain to these other
Yeah.
things and stuff. And then Harrison and I have been reading through the Little House series. So we're now on the Long Winter, which is like, they're in South Dakota, and it's like blizzarding like every couple days, and they can't get the train through, and they're like running low on supplies, and it's just like, oh my goodness, I can't even imagine being like back in that time. And like it's really not that long, like that history is not really all that removed from us and stuff, like we're talking less than 200 years. But yeah, so that's been really great too, because he and I we talk about those chapters and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's been great.
My English teachers always hated me because I was never in the higher level English class, so I would just like joke around. But I actually really liked English. I probably would have had a lot of fun in the honors class, because like I remember everyone in my class, we were reading Romeo and Juliet. They're like, I don't understand this. I was like, what do you mean? Like it's just you read it. Like I guess Romeo and Juliet, like Shakespeare's not really Old English. Like Old English, you physically cannot understand. Shakespeare's just like harder to read. It's just, I mean, I can read it pretty easily.
Yeah,
I get why people can't.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to read it out loud. But yeah, like reading Shakespeare versus like Beowulf, it's like, okay, this is different.
Yeah, Beowulf looks like it's written in German when you like read it. It's like, this is just not English.
Yeah, I think that the best way is to just read it out loud, or to just get the like modern day translation, so you just like understand the story, and then you can go back and just read it out loud and then try to understand it that way.
It was always so cool, and I always appreciated this, even though my teachers did not always love me. He like hearing like what was going on in history at the time that led to this writing, and then like because you would read certain books to understand certain literary principles, and like having that extracted and taught lessons to you was always super cool. But we've been going on a rant for a long time that has nothing to do with our diet. So if you made it this far, let us know if you enjoyed Kathleen and I's rant about, I don't even know what we've been talking about the last 30 minutes, but really appreciate it. Any last words, Kathleen?
No, I think, again, always when it comes to diet, just because these things objectively work well for Tyler and myself does not mean that they're going to objectively work well for you. And just because we have built up to eating, these calories and macros and stuff, that doesn't mean you can just jump there, right? And so it always goes back to finding what foods, food combinations, food timing, like all of that stuff objectively work well for you. And, we're a big proponent of slowly building yourself up there versus just jumping to a place. So always keep that in mind.
Awesome. Till next time, guys. Be good.